Greetings, salutations, and welcome to SportsLook, the sports television program for the high plains of West Texas and eastern New Mexico. I'm your host, Doc Elder, and tonight, just like the mission of Eastern New Mexico University, we are going to be value added. We are going to have Jose Montoya, who's going to talk about not one, not two, but three really big events that's going to be taking place at Eastern this weekend. We're going to talk to a young man by the name of Evan, who's going to talk to us about intramurals at the university. I'll finish up with an overtime, but as always, I'll start out with an Eastern recap. Really good weekend for Greyhound track and field. They were competing in a split squad fashion at a meet in Tucson and a meet in Canyon, Texas. Both squads did extremely well. Really good weekend for Greyhound softball. The Greyhound ladies took a doubleheader from UT Permian Basin, took a doubleheader from Saltwater State, and the Greyhound baseball team set a school record, scored 85 runs in 4 games against Salt Ross. Needless to say, they won all 4 of those games. Well, that has been your Eastern recap, so we'll clear this out and we'll bring in Jose Montoya right now. Welcome back to SportsLook, and we bring to the set of SportsLook the sports information director from Eastern New Mexico University, my good friend Jose Montoya. And Jose, I wish that we could clone you or triple clone you because you're going to be really, really busy this weekend.
Honestly, I'm going to take you up on that one right there because if I can be at 3 different places all at once, sign me up. Got a very, very productive weekend ahead here in Portales. Looking forward to having both baseball and softball home, but not only that, a home track meet as we prepare for the Lone Star Conference Championships in early May. We get the honor of hosting a home track meet to be able to help prepare for that, but also feature our incredible student athletes in Portales. I mean, they put a lot of miles on the track, they put a lot of miles on the road.
Let's talk a little bit about how that meet came together. What was the organizing principle behind it?
Right, so a couple years ago, got the bid once more to host the Lone Star Cross Country Championship. Then we got the bid to host the track championship, and concurrently we decided, well, we got to become track experts now. So last year we were able to host a championship type meet, if that makes any sense, when it comes to track, and then we get to host it 2 years in a row now.
So what was the selling point? Why do you think that we got the bid to host the conference championship?
Well, our facility for sure. Having the facility built so recently and having all the infrastructure available, we're definitely an ideal institution within the Lone Star Conference who's capable of hosting this type of meet.
Back in the day when I was a track and field coach, we had these stopwatches, and it's a little bit more high-tech than that now.
It's amazing how they use all their widgets and gadgets and whatnot. It's pretty neat stuff. And the timing system will come. They'll connect through our stadium and through our fiber network, and it's just really cool stuff.
Oh yeah, if people have never seen a track meet at Eastern, they really should come on and watch. So talk a little bit about the meet. Who is coming this weekend?
Right, so we'll feature some Lone Star Conference teams that includes West Texas A&M and Lubbock Christian. And then we'll also have New Mexico State University, so an in-state program coming to join us as well. We'll also have a couple NAIA institutions in Wayland Baptist, Oklahoma Panhandle State, and some new entries that will be coming from like club programs and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. So what time do the festivities start at the Steve Loy Family Foundation Stadium?
Right, so on March 29th, the first events are set to take place at 10 a.m. Looking forward to bringing a free event for our fans here in Portales and those interested in traveling to Eastern New Mexico for the event.
And this is kind of getting deep in the weeds, but when we talk about the football field, it's the Al Whitehead football field at Steve Loy Family Foundation Stadium. Does the track have a special name, or is it Steve Loy Family Foundation track?
Well, luckily, Al Whitehead with his incredible gift, I mean, that's the field,
Okay.
right? So when we use that as our quote unquote warm up station, well, they're essentially on that field. So that's what you would distinguish it as. So whenever I write down location and put it in our history record books, that's what I'll do. This will be our first ever track meet with the name Al Whitehead Field at Steve Loy Family Foundation Stadium.
And the Greyhounds were a split squad, from what I understand, last weekend. Some people went west and some people went east.
That's exactly what happened. So for a third straight season, went to the Willie Williams Classic. Try saying that 5 times fast. At the lovely campus of University of Arizona. I think you would remember a walk we had there earlier this fall.
Oh, yes.
Where we got to see a little bit of the track complex. Either way, some great times there, and saw a school record broken by a freshman. And then we ended up having some good provisional marks, including a 4x1 squad that could really look familiar to a 4x1 squad you may remember from just a few short years ago.
So that is one of the events that's going to be taking place this weekend, and we'll remind people it's free, and it's going to be at 10 o'clock starting on Saturday. Greyhound softball also in town for a couple of doubleheaders.
Right, on a 4-game winning streak, Greyhound softball is hotter than ever right now. Friday and Sunday is when they'll play next. They host a top 5 program in West Texas A&M come Friday. Looking forward to that. We're going to partner with a local sorority on campus, and they're going to do a pink out game. So bring out the pink on Friday and help us beat the Buffs.
And I took a quick glance at the schedule, and I think WT comes to town something like 22-2.
They definitely have a very impressive record. They sit number 3 right now in the most recent top 25 poll.
So what are the Greyhound softball ladies doing well right now? What accounts for their 4-game win streak?
Right. So what happened, well, the past couple games is not allowing a single run over the last 3 games.
That'll
3
help.
straight shutout games. Not too shabby, huh? And they're really effective all around in analytics. There's a cool page on Twitter among the softball community that focused on analytics among the pitching staffs, and they recognized one of our student athletes in Marissa Rodriguez as a top 10 pitcher of the week, just solely based on those metrics like did you allow hits, runs, how many strikeouts were you able to produce, etc.
And if I'm looking at the schedule and the standings correctly, the Greyhounds right on the cusp of a chance to go to Lone Star Conference playoffs.
Yes, so you'll remember that the last 2 seasons, they made it as the 10 seed. They welcomed 10 to the tournament. This year, the field's cut to 8.
Yeah.
So with such a tighter field, each game matters that much more. Looking forward to where the squad currently sits. I believe they're in a strong position. They are going to play a tough Midwestern State squad come Sunday, and that's going to be a very important series, especially when you talk about postseason picture. I think one of those 2 teams at the end of the day is going to be fighting for one of those spots.
So let's remind people of the starting time for the doubleheader on Friday and the doubleheader on Sunday.
Right, so we'd like to see fans there at 2 o'clock on Friday and then on Sunday at 1 p.m.
How many more home contests are there for Greyhound? And as I'm putting you on the spot here, but if you have a rough ballpark figure.
Yep, so we'll have 3 baseball weekends remaining. So that includes 4-game series, so 12 total home games for baseball remaining. For softball, I'd have to go back and triple check, make sure my knowledge is up to par, but I'm going to say there's 10 games left. So that means there's essentially 5 days of softball remaining at home at Greyhound Softball Field. That includes a home and home with Western New Mexico, which will compete over the same weekend. Some teams will compete on Friday, so they'll go to Silver City Friday, come to Portales on the Sunday, and meet up in that way. That's in early April. So looking forward to those contests.
And we point out that in softball, if I remember correctly, it's 2 divisions.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we compete in both the West and the East Division with Lone Star Conference teams. We just finished out our East slate where we played everyone at least in 1 doubleheader. than everyone in the West. Now we're starting out playing them twice with these doubleheaders. So, for example, this past weekend, Sul Ross State and UT Permian Basin visited us. Well, we still have to go return that trip, and that's the last weekend of the season, is whenever our programs travel to Odessa and then over to Alpine.
All right, let's switch to another sport that uses a round ball. Let's talk a little bit about Greyhound baseball.
Right, Greyhound baseball had an impressive weekend when you talk about offensive numbers. They were also one of those teams that was featured on those analytic websites for very good reason, because guess what? They scored a lot of runs.
85, if I remember correctly.
85 is the most runs that Sul Ross State has given over that 4-game stretch in a series this season, especially against an LSE foe. So a lot of positives there for head coach Riley Price and his squad. They are also in the playoff picture right now. They hold a cool little tiebreaker right now in a few situations, but you can't really tie into too much of those because there's still a lot of baseball left to be played.
So what can we expect from Oklahoma Christian coming to town?
Right. I think you're going to see one of the most impressive pitchers on Friday. I think he's so talented, effective, and throws strikes. I think one of the most important things in collegiate baseball is if you can control your box, you're going to do incredible. And this is exactly what Oklahoma Christian has in their ace of their staff. Now, the rest of the lineup, they can hit the ball. They're going to score runs on you. How are you going to respond? How are you going to keep that momentum? Their record may not look the most impressive on paper, but at the end of the day, they're still one of the tougher squads in the LSC. Just don't have some of those wins that other teams currently hold.
And let's talk about starting times and we'll remind people that the format for Lone Star Conference, you play 1 9-inning game, then you play a doubleheader, and then you play a 9-inning getaway game. So what times are those contests going to start?
Right. It's going to be late ones this coming up. So we're going 6 p.m. on Friday, and then we're going to go the 3 o'clock doubleheader on Saturday, and then we're going to head over to a 1 p.m. getaway game on Sunday.
And we will point out, I forgot to mention it when we talked about softball, but admission free for Greyhound softball and admission free for Greyhound baseball.
Yes. A lot of free this coming weekend at Eastern New Mexico University.
Well, let's talk about one more sport, Greyhound Rodeo. We've got an interim coach, Grady Goodson, and when's the next time that we're going to mount up and have a rodeo?
Right, so the second rodeo of the spring season is coming up this weekend. So they'll compete Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in good old West Texas. So looking forward to that competition and seeing how they do. I think there's a couple student athletes out there who are still inching towards a bid into nationals. It'd be really cool to see that come, especially as Goodson's leading this team in an interim role at the situation right now.
Well, Jose, thank you so much for being my guest, and get a lot of sleep for the weekend because you're going to need it.
Absolutely.
All right, well, that will wrap up the first interview segment here on SportsLook. So we'll clear this out, and we're going to bring in a young man by the name of Evan to talk about intramurals right now. Welcome back to SportsLook, and a privilege to bring to the set of SportsLook a student at Eastern New Mexico University, Evan Johnson. Evan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Well, we have you here for a specific reason, which we're going to reveal in good time, but let's start out with the basic. Where are you from originally, and why did you select Eastern New Mexico University?
So I'm from Andrews, Texas. I'm not a first-generation Eastern student. My older sister went to Eastern along with some aunts, uncles. My father went to E&M-UR, so I kind of just decided to follow in their footsteps and be a Greyhound.
Wow, right on. So, and I will ask you, what are you majoring in?
Biology with an emphasis in pre-med.
Do you hope to become a doctor or?
That is the goal. I want to be a sports medicine physician. Wow. So sports looks kind of up my alley with all that. So.
Yeah, right. Well, there's no better sports doctor in my book than the one we've got in Portales, New Mexico, Joel Sievers. Mm-hmm. Had the pleasure of meeting him?
I haven't yet, no, sir. I've heard a lot of great things about him, though.
Yeah, I mean, well, you remind me not only physically, but just in your energy level, you remind me of Joel Sievert. So if you could have a career like his, you'd be a successful guy. Well, let's talk a little bit about your association with sports. What did you play growing up, and why do you love sports?
So I played pretty much anything that was offered in my small hometown. So soccer, football, basketball, baseball. Football really stood out to me. That was something that I really love and something that I have a lot of passion for. So yeah, I've loved sports my whole life. Been an avid fan, a big Eagles fan, big Eagles fan.
Well, it was your year.
It
Wow.
was. So very proud to say that this year.
I'm surprised to hear anybody from Texas say that they're an Eagles fan.
You know, it was rough growing up. You know,
Yeah.
you got Cowboys fans all around you.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've heard a lot about it. So
Well, you got the bragging rights right now. And actually, I hate to alienate all of our Cowboys fans in the viewing audience, but Cooper DeJean is from my home state of Iowa. So him picking off a pass and taking it to the house on his birthday.
on his birthday in the Super Bowl rookie season, can't write it any better.
Doesn't get any better. So what position did you play when you were playing football?
So I played six-man football in high school. So I played up back, which is basically a quarterback that can't run with the ball.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. You know, I broke my collarbone freshman year, so that was cut short. But you know, that sophomore year came around and had a blast doing it. So.
Did you play defense?
No, sir, I did not. No.
You're too valuable on offense.
I like to think so.
So in terms of football, do you have, like we've talked about favorite team, do you have a favorite player?
Favorite player probably would have to be Jalen Hurts right now. I know it's a pretty basic answer with he's our Eagles quarterback, but I like the way he carries himself. He's a very humble guy. So.
Absolutely. And boy, there were a lot of people who said, well, he can't throw the ball. Well, I guess he can throw
I think
the
he
ball.
can throw the ball pretty well. So.
Let's talk about the other sports. In terms of baseball, what position did you play?
I was a second baseman pretty much my whole life. So that was my spot, and I wouldn't let anybody take it.
So basically, as a baseball player, you hope that you've got all 5 tools that you can hit for average. You can power, you can run, you can field. So what was your forte?
Oh, I could definitely just field. I was not good at the plate. You know, I didn't play competitively very much. I played a couple years, my middle school years, but that was about it. And it was a good journey from there.
And let's talk about baseball. Do you also go outside of the Lone Star State for your favorite team?
I do not, actually. I am a Texas Rangers fan. So, yes, sir.
Well, you're 11 life in the fall of 2023. A pretty remarkable season for the Rangers. So when you got to Eastern New Mexico University, we at one time, way back in the day, had a really strong intramurals program. What was the state of intramurals when you got to Eastern?
So when I got to Eastern, as far as I knew, in the fall we had flag football, and in the spring we had basketball. After talking to some alumni and things like that, I found out that we had this thriving system, and it's kind of been lackluster in recent years, and that was kind of a disappointment to me. So that's kind of how we transitioned into where I'm at now, trying to work with Dr. Johansson, the Vice President of Student Affairs, and Gary Carter, who is the Director of Intramurals, to kind of enrich Eastern's intramurals a little bit better.
Talk a little bit about why. Why is it important for a school the size of Eastern to have a robust intramurals program?
I think really it's important to keep students active. I mean, Portales is a small town. There's not much to do here. So if you give the students something to do and stay active and have that little bit of competitiveness around students, it brings a sense of unity. You have fun, first and foremost. I mean, sports are fun, ultimately. And, it's good to have that little bit of competitiveness to you.
In terms of flag football in the fall, how many kids participate?
If I were to estimate, I would say last fall we probably had 4 or 5 teams composing of about 8 to 9 guys. So
that's all?
Yeah, probably about 45 players, which is disappointing.
Yes.
It's something that, we don't want to go out and play the same teams every day. We want to have competition. We want to be like, oh, we're playing this team today and they're a juggernaut. And so,
How about projecting for basketball? How many kids are going to play basketball?
This year, I believe in the springtime we've had it. We do have a little bit more play. We've probably had about 7 or 8 teams play. So
I am shaking my head in disbelief because doesn't look like it now, but at one time I could actually play a little basketball. And we had a faculty staff team, and there were actually, there was an A league, a B league, and a C league. And one of my proudest possessions is I've got an intramural champ shirt.
That's awesome.
I had really good teammates. But I thought that was great because that got a chance for faculty staff to interact with students, and not just that you're sitting in my classroom, but I get to know you as a person.
You get to hit a mid-range three, or not a mid-range, I'm sorry, mid-range jumper on them and step back, crossover.
I used to be able to do all those things.
I know you can still hoop. I think I played basketball with you a couple of times.
I thought our paths crossed there out on the court. So what is the process involved? I mean, is there the backing from the administration, like we'll provide the resources?
So we do have a pretty good budget that's helping me out a lot with things, and right now I'm really pushing for softball as one of the slow pitch softball. I think that would be a good thing to have at Eastern, and then we're really pushing for advertisement. I think that that's one of the reasons that it has been so lackluster is a lack of advertisement. A lot of students, we had a survey go out recently, and a lot of students, the main concern was the lack of advertisement. And so we've been working on getting flyers and posters and things up, handbills, things that students can see, mass emails, things like that. So that way people are aware of what's going on.
Yeah, because that was going to be my question, was how well known is it that there are intramurals, and this is how you sign up a team. So do you sign up in person at Gary Carter's office, or is there an online process?
So I believe that there's several different ways you can do it. Of course, I'm sure you could go into Gary's office and do it, email him. There's an app, and I cannot for the life of me remember what the name of the app is, but I know that that's how the scheduling and everything is run through. So Gary would be able to better direct you in that if you were to email him.
And I will point out that we can do some fact checking here on SportsLook, and next week we'll make sure that we give people that app. So you talked a little bit about softball, and I'm kind of surprised that there isn't softball, because back in the day we used to have a faculty staff softball team, and we actually played in intramurals. And that just seems like such a natural to play in the spring. Anybody can play softball.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that was the thing, is I want to say really COVID kind of killed it, as it did a lot of things. It kind of took a lot from us. So I know early on as like the 2018s, there was softball here. Yeah. And it just kind of hasn't been back since. So.
Well, I'll do an even deeper dive that back in the day, there used to be intramural kickball. There used to be intramural indoor soccer. I mean, there were
I've heard of badminton and wrestling that used to be here.
Yeah.
It's crazy that this is the state that it's in now. And I'm happy to be working on it and being kind of in the forefront of it and making sure that this is going to be something that students after me have for their experience here at Eastern.
Oh, absolutely. If you could bring it back, we'd put a statue out there beside the statue of Steve Loy in front of the Steve Loy Family Foundation Arena. So in a perfect world, you need to have flag football, you need to have basketball. I think softball is a no-brainer. If there was only one other intramural sport that you could bring back here at Eastern, what would you bring back?
Honestly, I think indoor soccer would be a really fun thing. I know we did away with our men's soccer program, unfortunately, here. So I think that would bring a lot of excitement to a lot of students, kind of appeal to a more broad variety of students.
We obviously at one time had a tennis program at Eastern, and we still have a few dedicated tennis courts. A lot of them have been converted through the generosity of Max and June Merrick over to pickleball. Do you think that racket sports would be a possibility for intramurals?
I love the idea of it. I'm not positive about the logistics of it due to it being, a one-on-one or a two-on-two sport. But no, I love the idea of doing a pickleball intramural or even, tennis.
So in terms of when the games take place, and this might be a question that students have, like they'd like to, but is it going to conflict with class? Or there are a couple of nights a week that are usually intramural nights?
Yes, sir. So usually Tuesdays and Thursdays are the intramural nights. I know tonight I personally have a basketball game at 6:30. And there's another one at 7:45, and they usually start after classes and roll into the late afternoon.
Well, we appreciate your coming over and looking all spiffy and everything, and give you a chance. You're wearing a fraternity shirt, so in 45 seconds, tell us about your fraternity.
Yeah, no, so we're the Kappa Sigma fraternity. We're the largest fraternity here on campus, and it's been a great opportunity for me. I myself sit as the vice president of it. And no, I love it. It really has. It's brought me a lot of brotherhood and that kind of that locker room feel, of having a team behind you. And so it's been a great experience for me.
And also, congratulations here briefly, because I just found out that you're going to be in charge of hiring counselors for dog days.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, I have been blessed to be the new dog days coordinator, or one of the new dog days coordinators, along with my co-coordinator, Lexi. And I'm super excited to do it. It's excited to put this event together and welcome these incoming freshmen.
Well, Evan, congratulations. Best of luck in the fall, but in the short run, let's hope we can get intramurals back to where they used to be.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up the interview segment of SportsLook, so we'll clear this out, and I'll finish up with an overtime right now. Last week, I talked about the fact that my alma mater, the University of California, San Diego, had qualified for the very first time for the NCAA Division I men's basketball tournament. Well, guess what? So did the ladies. Yeah, the Tritons got themselves into the tournament. And it's not only my alma mater, but you may not believe it, 40 years ago, I was actually an assistant coach at UC San Diego. So I was extremely proud of the Tritons. They did get bounced out in the first round, but I'm sure that's not the last time they will qualify for the NCAA tournament. Well, that will finish up in overtime, and that will wrap up an episode of SportsLook. I'd like to thank my guests, Jose Montoya and Evan Johnson. Mr. Kyle doing a great job once again running the floor set for me. So for all those aforementioned people, this is Doc Elder saying, so long.